I never thought I'd charge my own mother to see her grandson, but after her cruel lie, it became the only way to protect his heart. My son, Leo, had been counting down the days to his 6th birthday for months. 6 is a monumental age. It's the age you get to be a big kid, the age where you feel like the whole world is finally starting to open up. For Leo, his world revolved around 2 things: dinosaurs and his grandma. So for his 6th birthday, all he wanted was a dinosaur-themed party with a T-Rex cake, and for his grandma, my mom, to be there to see him blow out the candles. Planning the party was my joy. I'm a single mom, and while things aren't always easy, I make sure my son never feels like he's missing out. I hand-painted pterodactyls to hang from the ceiling. I baked cupcakes with little fossil imprints on top, and I even managed to find a reasonably priced bouncy castle that looked vaguely like a volcano. The guest list was small, just a few of his friends from kindergarten and our family. My sister, Sarah, and her husband confirmed immediately. The only person left to call was my mom. I dialed her number, a little knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. Our relationship has always been complicated. I'm the responsible one, the one who had a kid young and had to build a life from scratch. Sarah is the golden child, the one who married a wealthy guy and lives a life I only see on social media. My mom has never been subtle about her preference. Still, she's Leo's grandmother, and he adores her. "Hi, Mom," I said, forcing cheerfulness into my voice when she answered. "Just calling with the official invite. Leo's party is on the 14th at 2 o'clock. He's been talking non-stop about you coming." There was a pause on the other end of the line. A long, telling silence that made the knot in my stomach clench tighter. "Oh, honey," she finally said, her voice dripping with a practiced sort of regret. "The 14th? I don't think I can make it." My heart sank. "Oh, is everything okay?" "It's just, you know how it is," she sighed dramatically. "Money is so tight right now. Your father's pension hasn't been stretching as far, and with the price of gas, driving all the way out to you and back, it's just not in the budget this month. I feel absolutely terrible." I felt a pang of guilt. I lived about an hour and a half away from my parents. It wasn't a cross-country trip, but I knew my dad had some health issues, and they were on a fixed income. "Mom, please don't worry about that," I said quickly. "I can send you gas money, or I can drive out and pick you up and drop you off. Leo wants you here so badly. It would mean the world to him." "Oh no, sweetheart, I couldn't let you do that," she insisted, her voice firm. The fake martyrdom was in full effect. "You have enough on your plate. We'll celebrate with Leo another time. Just give him a big kiss from his grandma and tell him I love him to the moon and back." And that was that. No amount of pleading would change her mind. I hung up the phone, feeling a familiar mix of disappointment and frustration. But the worst part was still to come. I had to tell Leo. I found him in his room, carefully arranging his plastic dinosaurs into a battle scene. "Hey, buddy," I said softly, sitting on the edge of his bed. "I just talked to Grandma." His face lit up, his big brown eyes wide with excitement. "Is she coming? Is she bringing me a triceratops? I told her I wanted a triceratops." I took a deep breath, my heart aching. "Honey, Grandma can't come to your party. She's not feeling very well, and she has to save her money right now." I hated lying to him, but "Grandma says she's too poor to afford the gas to see you" sounded so cruel. His little face crumpled. The bright light in his eyes dimmed, and his bottom lip started to tremble. "But she has to come," he whispered. "It's my birthday." "I know, sweetie, and she's so sad she's going to miss it. She loves you very, very much." Tears started rolling down his cheeks. "No, she doesn't," he sobbed, the words like a dagger in my chest. "If she loved me, she would come." He buried his face in his pillow, his small shoulders shaking. No amount of comforting worked. For the next few days, a cloud hung over our house. Leo was quiet and withdrawn, and my anger at my mother simmered just beneath the surface, mixed with a lingering guilt that maybe I was being unfair, that maybe they really were struggling that badly. The day of the party arrived, and Leo managed to perk up once his friends showed up and the bouncy castle inflated. He laughed, he ripped open presents, he smeared T-Rex cake all over his face. He was a happy 6-year-old. But I saw the little glances he kept shooting towards the front door, a flicker of hope in his eyes every time it opened. By the end of the night, when he was tucked into bed, he whispered, "Grandma didn't even call." I held him tight, my fury at my mom turning into a cold, hard stone in my gut. How could she do this to him? 2 days later, I was scrolling through Facebook, decompressing after a long day at work. I saw that my sister, Sarah, had posted a new photo album. The title was Aspen Adventures. Curious, I clicked on it. The first picture was a selfie of Sarah and my mom on a ski lift. They were bundled up in sleek, expensive-looking ski jackets with goggles pushed up on their heads and massive, beaming smiles on their faces. Behind them, a breathtaking vista of snow-covered mountains stretched out under a brilliant blue sky. The caption read, "Best surprise ever. Mom decided we needed a girls' week and treated us to a dream vacation in Aspen, having the most amazing time." I stared at the screen, my blood turning to ice. I clicked through the photos. There was my mom clinking champagne glasses with Sarah at a fancy restaurant. There she was posing by a roaring fireplace in what was clearly a luxury ski lodge. There she was, grinning in a photo tagged at a resort where a single night's stay costs more than my monthly rent. And then I saw it, a comment from one of Sarah's friends. "OMG, that's amazing. A 10K trip is the best kind of surprise." My phone slipped from my numb fingers and clattered onto the floor. My son was crying himself to sleep because Grandma was too poor to afford $20 in gas to see him. And there she was, smiling on a $10,000 vacation she had paid for. I sat there on the floor, the glow of the phone screen illuminating my stunned face. The cheerful, snowy pictures felt like a physical assault. Each smiling selfie, each clink of champagne glasses was another punch to the gut. The rage that had been a cold stone inside me was now a raging inferno. It wasn't just the lie. It was the casual cruelty of it, the complete and utter disregard for my son's feelings. He was a footnote, an inconvenience to be brushed aside with a pathetic, transparent excuse so she could go play with her favorite daughter in a winter wonderland. My first instinct was to call her, to scream down the phone until my voice was raw. But what would that accomplish? She'd deny it, twist it, call me jealous or ungrateful. She would find a way to make this my fault. She always did. No, a direct confrontation was what she expected. It was a game she knew how to win. So I called Sarah. She picked up on the third ring, her voice breathless and giddy. "Oh my God, hi, you will not believe this place. The powder is insane." "It looks beautiful, Sarah," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "Looks like a really expensive trip." "Totally. Mom really went all out. I feel so spoiled," she chirped, completely oblivious. "That's funny," I continued, the words like ice chips. "Because just a few days ago she told me she was so broke she couldn't afford the gas to drive an hour and a half for her only grandson's 6th birthday party." The silence on the other end was immediate and heavy. The giddy vacation tone vanished. "Oh," Sarah finally mumbled. "Well, that was different." "Different? Please enlighten me, Sarah. How is a $10,000 vacation different from $20 in gas? Was there a special sale on champagne and ski lifts that I missed?" "Look, you don't get it," she said, her voice turning defensive. "Mom's been stressed. She needed this. It was a last-minute thing from her emergency fund." I let out a short, harsh laugh. Her emergency fund? Leo sobbing into his pillow on his birthday because his grandma didn't care enough to show up wasn't an emergency, but a sudden craving for après-ski cocktails was? Got it. "You're just being dramatic," she snapped, "and you're jealous. You've always been jealous of my relationship with Mom." There it was, the classic deflection, the go-to accusation that had shut me down my entire life, but not this time. The inferno inside me was burning away all the old hurt and replacing it with a cold, hard clarity. "You're right, Sarah," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. "I am jealous. I'm jealous that my son has a grandmother who can find $10,000 for a party, but not an ounce of love for him. Have a great time on your trip. Don't forget to send Leo a postcard." I hung up before she could respond. I walked over to my son's room and stood in the doorway, watching him sleep. He was curled up with the stuffed dinosaur Sarah had sent him for Christmas, a cheap, hollow gesture I now realized. He looked so small, so innocent, and my mother had deliberately broken his heart. The rage solidified into a plan, a quiet, simple, and utterly devastating plan. I picked my phone back up and went to Facebook. I found Sarah's photo album again. I scrolled to the picture of her and my mom on the ski lift, their faces alight with joy, a picture of pure, carefree happiness. It had dozens of likes and comments from their friends. "Looks amazing. So jealous. You two deserve it." My fingers trembled slightly as I tapped out a comment. I read it over twice, a grim satisfaction settling over me. It was perfect, polite, cheerful, and absolutely lethal. I hit post. I watched the little blue circle spin, and then my comment appeared under the photo for all their friends and family to see. It read, "Wow, Aspen looks incredible. So glad you two are having a wonderful mother-daughter trip. Mom, when you told me money is tight and you couldn't afford the gas to come to Leo's 6th birthday, I had no idea this is what you meant. He missed you terribly, but I'll be sure to show him these pictures from your 10K vacation. Have fun and ski safely." I put the phone down on the counter, my heart hammering against my ribs. For a full minute, nothing happened. The silence in my apartment was deafening. Then my screen lit up. The name flashing on the screen, angry and bright, was Mom. I stared at it, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. I let it go to voicemail. The screen went dark for a second, then immediately lit up again. This time, it was Sarah. I declined the call, and then the notifications began. A tidal wave of them. Likes on my comment. Replies. My phone started buzzing uncontrollably on the countertop, a frantic, angry vibration that sounded like the beginning of an earthquake. The bomb had gone off. I let the phone buzz itself into a frenzy. I didn't need to look to know what was happening. I could picture it perfectly. My mother sitting in a luxurious wood-paneled lodge, her face contorting in rage as her phone blew up. Sarah trying to do damage control, frantically typing replies and making excuses. Their perfect, curated vacation fantasy had just been shattered by a single, perfectly aimed comment. The buzzing finally stopped, and I cautiously picked up the phone. The Facebook notifications were a glorious train wreck. My comment had over 50 likes. Aunt Carol, my mom's notoriously gossipy sister, had replied with a simple but devastating, "Linda, what is this?" Several of my mom's church friends had posted strings of shocked face emojis. One of Sarah's friends, the same one who had commented on the price of the trip, wrote, "Wait, what? Sarah, is this for real?" The private messages were even better. An uncle I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me asking if Leo was okay. A cousin offered to send Leo a late birthday present. It was a wildfire, and my comment was the match. Then came the voicemails. I listened to my mom's first. It was exactly what I expected. "How dare you," she shrieked, her voice shrill with fury. "How dare you air our private business on the internet and try to ruin this for me? You are a vindictive, jealous child. You have no idea what's going on, and you've just embarrassed me in front of everyone I know. You will delete that comment immediately." Sarah's was next. She was crying. "I can't believe you did this," she sobbed. "Mom is a wreck. You've ruined everything. She was going to help me with a down payment for a house with some of that money. You've always had to be the center of attention, haven't you? You couldn't just let us have this one nice thing." That part about the down payment was a new twist. So, it wasn't just a vacation. It was a vacation and a massive financial gift to my sister, all while my son was being told his grandmother was practically destitute. The sheer scale of the deception was breathtaking. I deleted both voicemails without a second thought. I wasn't going to delete the comment. I was going to let it sit there, a public monument to her lies. For the next 2 days, I was bombarded. My mom and sister tried calling from blocked numbers. They sent me furious, rambling text messages filled with accusations and insults. I was selfish. I was cruel. I was trying to turn the family against them. I ignored it all. I focused on Leo. I took him to the park. We built a massive Lego castle, and I showed him all the pictures from his party again, focusing on the happy faces of his friends. I refused to let her poison seep any further into our lives. The real fallout started when they got back from Aspen. My dad called me. He sounded exhausted. "Your mother isn't speaking to me," he said, his voice heavy. "She says I'm taking your side because I didn't force you to take the comment down." "What side is there to take, Dad?" I asked gently. "She lied. She hurt Leo. That's not a side, that's a fact." He sighed. "I know, sweetheart, I know. I told her it was wrong. This whole thing. She inherited some money from your great-aunt Millie and didn't tell anyone. She just went a little crazy with it. I'm sorry. I really am." It was the closest I'd ever get to a real apology, and it wasn't even from her. The next day, a package arrived. It was from my mom. Inside was a ridiculously expensive, oversized stuffed T-Rex, the kind you win at a carnival for $100. There was a card tucked under its arm. The front had a generic "thinking of you" message. Inside, she had scrawled a single curt sentence: "Now we're even. We will not be discussing this again." I stared at the card, then at the enormous plastic-eyed dinosaur. We're even. She thought a toy, a blatant attempt to buy my son's affection and my silence, could erase the deliberate, callous hurt she had caused. She believed she could throw money at the problem and it would just disappear? That was her solution. No apology, no accountability, just a transaction. My phone pinged with a text from her. "Did Leo get his present? I hope he likes it. We should put this behind us for his sake." I looked from the text message to the monstrous stuffed animal that was now taking up half my living room. Something inside me snapped. The rage I thought had cooled down reignited, hotter and more focused than before. This wasn't over. This wasn't even close to being over. She wanted to play games with money. She wanted to treat my son's love like a commodity to be bought and sold. Fine. We could play that game, but we would be playing by my rules now. I picked up my phone, my mind racing. A new plan, far more audacious than a simple Facebook comment, began to form. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about justice, my son's justice. I opened my laptop and started typing. I knew her finances, I knew my dad's health situation, I knew about the inheritance. I also knew a few family secrets she thought were buried long ago. She thought she could silence me with a cheap stuffed toy and a demand to move on. She had no idea who she was dealing with. My phone buzzed again, another text from her, more insistent this time. "Are you getting my messages? We need to talk." I ignored it and kept typing, a slow, determined smile spreading across my face. She thought she had the power because she had the money. I was about to show her what real power looked like. My plan wasn't a social media post. It was a formal, meticulously crafted email. The recipient list was small but potent. My mom, my dad, Sarah, and my Aunt Carol, the family matriarch and unofficial Supreme Court judge. The subject line was simple: regarding Leo and future family engagements. I spent hours on that email. I laid out the facts with the cold, detached precision of a legal document. I started with my mom's phone call, quoting her "money is tight" excuse verbatim. I followed it with a link to Sarah's Aspen photo album. I detailed the profound emotional impact her absence had on Leo, describing his tears and his heartbreaking question of whether his grandma still loved him. I attached a screenshot of her text message about the stuffed dinosaur and the demand that we're even. Then came the hammer. It has become clear, I wrote, that the traditional grandparent-grandchild relationship is not one that Mom is interested in or capable of maintaining. Her actions have demonstrated that her presence and affection are conditional, based on convenience and her own financial whims. This is not a healthy or acceptable dynamic for a 6-year-old child. I continued. Therefore, I am proposing a new arrangement. Since Mom prefers to communicate her affection through financial transactions, we will formalize it. For her to have the privilege of seeing Leo, there will be a fee. I outlined the terms. A 1-hour visit, $200. Attendance at a birthday or holiday, $500. A phone or video call, $50. All payments were to be made in advance. And then, the final clause. Furthermore, a portion of the inheritance received from Great Aunt Millie, a woman who adored all her grandnieces and nephews equally, should be placed in a trust fund for Leo's education. This would be a gesture to prove that her stated financial struggles were, in fact, a lie, and to make amends for the emotional distress caused. I concluded the email by stating that if these terms were not met, I would be cutting off all contact between my mother and my son indefinitely for his own emotional protection. I informed them that Aunt Carol had been copied on the email to act as a family mediator. Then I sat back, took a deep breath, and hit send. The explosion was instantaneous and nuclear. My mom called screaming, but I didn't answer. Sarah sent a barrage of texts calling me a monster, an extortionist, a cold-hearted snake. I ignored them all. The only person I answered was my dad. He was quiet for a long time after I picked up. "She's destroyed the photo album," he finally said, his voice laced with defeat. "She's been on the phone with Carol for an hour, screaming her head off." "What does Aunt Carol say?" I asked, my voice steady. He sighed. "She says you're not wrong." That was all I needed to hear. The next week was a war of attrition. My mom tried to rally support, but my email had done its job. The facts were irrefutable. Aunt Carol, a woman no one in the family dared to cross, called my mother and apparently delivered a verbal thrashing of legendary proportions. She reminded my mom that Millie's will specified her inheritance was to be used for the joy and betterment of her family, not just her favorite child's down payment. The public shaming combined with the private pressure was too much. A week later, I received a certified letter. It was from my mother's lawyer. It was a formal acceptance of my terms. It laid out a payment schedule for the visits and confirmed that $50,000 from her inheritance had been placed into a secure trust for Leo's college education, which I would control. There was no personal note, no apology, just a cold, contractual agreement. The first paid-for visit was awkward. My mom showed up at my door, handed me a check for $200, and walked stiffly into the living room. Leo, who I had simply told that Grandma was coming for a special visit, ran to her. "Grandma, you came!" he yelled, throwing his arms around her legs. I saw something flicker in my mother's eyes, a brief flash of shame, or maybe regret, before her mask of stony indignation snapped back into place. She stayed for exactly 1 hour playing dinosaurs with him on the floor. It was the most engaged I had ever seen her be with him. When the hour was up, she stood, said a curt goodbye, and left. It's been a year since then. The arrangement stands. My mother sees Leo about once a month. She pays every time. Our relationship is transactional, just as she wanted. It's cold and strange, but it's honest. Sarah and I barely speak, but I hear she and her husband got a smaller house than they'd planned. My mom no longer has a favorite audience to perform for. She just has consequences. Leo is thriving. He knows that when Grandma comes, it's a special, planned event. He doesn't wait by the door for her anymore. He doesn't cry himself to sleep wondering if he's loved. His world is stable and secure because I made it that way. The money from her visits goes directly into his savings account, which I've named the Grandma Fund. One day, when he's old enough, I'll tell him the whole story. I'll tell him that love should never have a price tag, but that I made sure that if it did, he would be the one to cash the check.